will continue with our designing and construction of partial dentures, removable partial dentures, and I will be going through some different designs, some different classifications, and also various options for clasps, etc. that we can use. I will be designing a metal partial denture again. This will be a class 3 modification 2 again, and as always follow the steps to identify the need where I have indicated the teeth that I'm going to replace, my guide planes, I've surveyed, I found my undercuts, and I will follow the support, retention as for all designs. We'll follow the 7 steps to make sure that I provide the patient with a biologically acceptable denture. My guide planes will be where the denture is in contact with the abutment surfaces of the teeth. And guide planes provide passive retention. So there's the denture and the tooth is fit snugly against each other. Support has to do with provision of rest, and all dentures must have 3 rests. So in this case, I will have my mesial rest on my 1-7 and another mesial rest on my 2-7. I've got 2 premolars as abutment, and because there are 2 teeth missing on all the saddles, 2 teeth and more, I need to provide support on all my abutment surfaces. In this case, I will also provide a cingulum rest on my canines, because each saddle must be supported so that the denture does not sink into the mucosa, because it must be a tooth-supported denture. And rest must always be provided on the abutment teeth, and abutment teeth are these immediately next to the saddle. So the next step is to provide retention. And in this case, I'm going to choose to use circumferential clasps on both of the molars. And a circumferential clasp has 3 components. It has a active or direct arm that engages the undercut, and it has a reciprocal arm that is reciprocating the action of this arm, as well as a rest. I'm using distobuccal undercut on both of these molars. So the circumferential clasp has its own reciprocation. I've got 2 premolars, and I cannot use the circumferential clasp because the circumferential clasp need to be long, which can only be provided by the mesodistal length of a molar. So in the case of premolars, I'm going to ask the technician to solder on a C-clasp. Now C-clasps are referred to when we use stainless steel wire. Circumferential clasps are referred to when we use metal or chrome cobalt. Remember, when I do my clasp, I must always provide reciprocation. So unlike the circumferential clasp, which has its own reciprocation, my major connector or my metal in this design will provide reciprocation. The next step is to connect the separate components. I'm using a cingulum rest, so I'm connecting all of them. Anteriorly, it's covering my cingulum rest, my distal rest, my guide planes that I need to indicate that it's in contact with my teeth, and to connect my major connector. Again, I need to provide or to indicate that I understand that this is my acrylic finish line where the acrylic will be attached to, and the holes will give mechanical retention. So wherever I have saddles where my acrylic teeth will be attached, I will have my acrylic finish line with my retention holes I've looked at whether I have provided horizontal stability, and I've used a palatal plate as a major connector. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rests. The number of rests are determined by the number and the size of the saddle. In this metal partial denture, I've got 1, 2 circumferential clasps and an additional 1, 2 C clasps that's engaging mesiobuccal undercut on the premolars. My circumferential clasps engaging 0.25 undercut on my molars. And this will be one design where I've used circumferential clasps on my canine. I've chosen to extend my major connector over all the teeth. Another design would have been, in this case, where I've actually provided reciprocation for my clasp arms is coming from the reciprocal arm, and I have relieved the 2 teeth. I've used mesial cingulum rest on the 1-3 and the 2-3. I've relieved these 2 teeth because this is possible in a metal partial denture. I've used my circumferential clasps. I have asked the technician to solder on C clasp, which is stainless steel, and I have provided reciprocation with my chrome cobalt reciprocating arms. So in this case, I also have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rests. I've got my 2 soldered C clasps and 2 circumferential clasps on my metal partial denture. And here I have to indicate my acrylic finish line as well as the retention holes. Another design, different clasp system that I've used on the posterior teeth. Instead of using the normal circumferential, I've used a circumferential ring clasp, engaging mesiobuccal undercut on the 1-6, and on the 2-6 I've used lingual or palatal undercut. And in this case, because the teeth were probably mesially rotated, the mesiobuccal and the mesiopalatal undercuts are usually biggest, and the ring clasp can then engage mesiobuccal or mesiopalatal undercuts. And remember, a ring clasp will always extend from the mesial of the tooth and into a mesial undercut. And ring clasps are used exclusively in lone standing, mesially tilted to mesially rotated teeth. So these are different designs. If an acrylic partial denture was indicated, remember we construct acrylic partial dentures using exactly the same principles as for metal partial dentures in the designing and constructing of acrylic partial dentures. Here we usually have to cover more of the teeth to provide strength, rigidity for the acrylic. I've also got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rests. My canine rests are cingulum rest, mid-cingulum rest. I've got a distal occlusal rest on the premolars. These are half round wires that's attached to the teeth, to the acrylic, and will be sitting in my rest preparation. I've got 2 mesial occlusal rests on my molars, also half round wire, and I've used C clasps. We refer to the clasp on an acrylic partial denture as a C clasp, and if we look at it on a model, this will be a C clasp because this is an attachment and it's made out of round stainless steel wire. In comparison to a metal partial denture, where we can use a ring clasp on a metal partial denture, and in this case on the premolars we have used soldered C clasp, soldered stainless steel clasp, because we cannot use a circumferential clasp on a premolar. And this is how the technician will then construct the metal framework.